This show is about the path less taken, a show about a rocky path, a path of patience and persistence in equal measure. What you ultimately find down this path is passion, a passion for live electronic music. Welcome to Hardware Road, and welcome Felix, aka Asinine. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yep, that's perfect.
All right, sweet. Now, I googled Asinine. So tell us about how you came about this artist name.
It means incredibly stupid. I just thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was funny. I kind of also liked just how the word looks, like the way the letters sit together, I guess. So yeah, there wasn't too much more to it.
So did you find how did you find the word? Like, how did you come about it?
Honestly, I'm not even.
Don't recall.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was funny. Like sometimes there's funny stories about these things. Like, I think it was Nirvana. The band Nirvana, of course. Supposedly, I heard a story that he opened a dictionary, put his finger just on a random page, and it happened to be on the word Nirvana, and that's sort of. Supposedly, it could be.
No, I don't have any. I don't have any story like that.
Story.
I did like I kind of liked the word a while ago. Before, like, I was a word that I kind of liked as an idea for an artist name long before I had planned to kind of start a live techno thing. It was just So I think it was just I thought it was funny. The meaning behind it is pretty funny when people know what it is.
Yeah, it is. This is very funny. Yes,
especially for live techno, because some people who aren't into techno think it is kind of stupid music, if you know what I mean, or it's like not very intelligent music.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of funny as well. But
yeah, I totally understand that. I was a little bit ignorant in my youth as well. Okay. So artist name. So it never came from anything because you have a musical background. So we chatted earlier, and you were saying that you studied music as a child.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your background in music and music theory and what you were doing before you went down this road.
Yeah. I did quite a lot of music growing up, like in school, primary school through to high school, doing classical music and jazz as well in high school. Like my main instrument was classical guitar, which is a bit like a little bit niche. Even in the classical music world, it's a bit like of a strange instrument. Or not very common thing to do, but
so if you went and saw an orchestra, you're not seeing the guitar used so much, right?
No,
flutes and every other instrument I can think of, like except for you very rarely see.
No,
guitar. It's not unless they're big double basses and things, right?
Yeah. But it was it's really like a not super common thing, but I was doing that a lot through school, and then like trumpet as well, so I could play because you can't play in a band or an orchestra or anything. Playing the guitar, and I did that all through school, and always just been surrounded by a lot of music, I guess.
You also mentioned that there was a lot of music around at home.
Yeah, my parents both quite into music. Like, they both played instruments growing up. Neither of them are really musicians as adults or anything, but very into music. My dad especially really into listening. Like, he's got a very broad music taste, and he's really into music. I think I always liked doing music in school. I liked a lot about it and when I was growing up. But I think one thing that was always missing to a degree, and when I finished school and kind of kept doing it a little bit, like especially classical guitar, and one thing that was missing to a degree was the strong passion to that genre or to the music that I was playing. Like, I didn't listen to classical music for fun. Much. So then when I started, when I 19 or whatever, started going out and hearing techno and and then listening to it a lot, and I thought, well, why don't I want to do that. I want to make that kind of music.
So when you played in bands beforehand, you played in bands too?
I mean, I never really played like properly in like what you're thinking of as a band, but I played in jazz bands and jazz bands or like small jazz.
Was that at school and stuff?
Yeah,
through so not after
we sometimes there were occasional
or anything like that. Okay, yeah, right. So
so like when I was really started to listen to electronic music a lot more, then it was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think I started. People DJ. That's what they do.
Yeah,
So I like
that. That was sorry to interrupt you again, but that was what I was going to, because we also talked about that you wanted to do. You started partying, and as a lot of people do, they're like, oh, and what they see are DJs most of the time. So like, okay, I want a DJ. So you did mention that you had a foray into DJing. So what happened? Tell us what happened there.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I tried it a bit and started doing it a bit, and it was fine. But I just like it didn't feel the same as when I was playing music, like playing guitar or whatever. Like it just didn't feel the same because I mean, there are some DJs that are quite incredible, and it's like an instrument to them.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wasn't really.
It would have taken you a while.
Yeah, I wasn't on that
point
path
as well,
really or anything like that. And I just found it was like, I'm pressing play on a track, and then I'm waiting for it to get towards the end, and then I'm playing the next track, and it's like didn't feel like I was doing a lot for me. And some DJs are doing a lot, but I wasn't. And
yeah,
I found it was with DJing. It was like I didn't know. It was unclear how to improve, or the path wasn't clear for how to get better.
Yeah.
Whereas when I started on the computer with producing, when I started doing that, I was like, oh, this sounds really bad.
Okay, so you started on the in the DAW,
yeah, on Ableton, and when I started doing that, I was like, oh, this is terrible. As in, what I'm doing sounds terrible.
Okay.
I could see so many things I needed fixed. Whereas DJing, I was like, I don't know how to improve because it's not, the song I'm playing sounds good, and I can get them in time together, and then the next song sounds good.
Yeah.
Not, I guess I don't mean to oversimplify what DJing is, but that's just how I saw it at the time.
No, yeah, as we know, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of DJs and as they get better at their craft will mix multiple tracks and so forth. So they're using, some DJs use the tracks as
it's like
virtual sounds or patterns and things, right? So which is similar to what we use when we play live.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you weren't at that stage yet, obviously, and then you were just playing track to track, and you're thinking this is boring.
Yeah.
Let me go into. So how did you discover that you needed to what you needed to do to start making electronic music? Besides it, so you were in the DAW.
Yeah, in the DAW, and I like that fact that there were so many things that I wanted to like. The pathway to improve was clear to me because I was like, this is bad. This sounds bad. This isn't, like, it's not good. I had all these ideas for things to improve, and just working on it. But I never was that into it. I never was super dedicated to it when I was on the computer.
Right.
And then I think I would have, I had a friend who told me about modular synths or something.
Okay.
And he didn't even have one, but I think he was studying audio engineering, and he had, and then
that would be. Like part of a course would be learning how to use modular synth.
Yeah.
Or a synthesizer in general.
Yeah, or at least
modular synth is a really good example of showing how a synthesizer is wired because you have to do it yourself, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, and then I would have watched some videos. I think, I think I would have gone into, oh, this is really cool. And I do remember I was at Pitch 2022 and I saw, I think it was Omran and DJ Ali played a live set, closed on the Friday night. And that was right around when I was watching all these videos about modular. I'm pretty sure they were using modular. They might not have been, but I remember thinking at the time, this is crazy. I want to do that. That's really cool.
Yeah. You want to go live.
Yeah. And so then, I don't know, I think I started slowly getting hardware. I think I started with just a MIDI controller to control Ableton.
Yeah.
And then that.
A lot of people go that route first.
Yeah. And then that it was fine, but it still didn't really work that well for me. And then when I started to get standalone electron things, that's when I was like, oh, this is now kind of working. And I was also able to, I really enjoyed it a lot more. On the computer, I just didn't enjoy it a lot sometimes.
Was it that, when you play a live instrument as an acoustic instrument, it's not only an external thing, but you always imagine yourself playing in front of people, right, in a show. And to me, it's like sitting in front of a computer and turning knobs. Is that a show? It's not really, is it? So did that ever cross your mind or anything? Was it anything like that since you
I made
background? Or?
To a degree, yeah. I think I did want to because I kind of stopped playing guitar and playing those instruments, and it was kind of I it was taking the place of that, playing like electronic music. And yeah, on the computer, it feels like I'm at work or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I found it hard to really dedicate a lot of time to it because it was not that enjoyable. Also because, the computer is kind of infinite choice and it's a bit like
it can be
no
overwhelming.
limitations. That being said, I do also think that, everyone's different. You don't have to use hardware to make good music.
No, and there's no judgment on anybody and how they, most producers, especially DJs, will just use a DAW. They won't even bother with hardware because because it's so easily accessible and you don't have to go and learn what I would call an instrument, like all the boxes that you use in their own rights. They're individual little instruments, aren't they? So, no judgment on those who use DAWs, of course. But if you want to play live, you
need at least something that's not just a computer.
Yes. I think it's a better show. What have you got there? So you mentioned you started with Electron.
Yeah.
So Digitact, because I see the Digitact there.
I actually started with the model cycles was the first thing I got. The first bit of hardware I ever got was the model cycles. And I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I just, by itself, I got a bit frustrated. Like it has a sound, has a very distinct sound. So I couldn't escape the, if I was trying to play for an hour, it's like an hour of this very specific sound that instrument makes. So then I got, I think it was the Digitact next.
Yeah. So model cycles is like the entry, for those who don't know, it's the entry level Electron hardware, basically, which is a great starting point for anyone who's looking to get into play hardware. I mean, that's a great point where did that well, obviously it did. It made you want more, right?
Yeah, it did. It got me, like, I was like, oh, I could, even though like I said, the sound, not to say it sounds bad or anything, it just wasn't it wasn't the exact sound I always
wanted. You found its limitations.
Yeah.
And you're going, if I want to make techno live, I need to do something else. So the next step was a Digitact.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose, you could technically do a show with probably that.
You definitely could. You could do a show with just the Digitact by itself.
It's pretty,
for sure.
Yeah, because it's for those who don't know, again, it's basically a sampler. You can sample into it too, the version one. Yeah. So you can sample into it, and it's a sample, so you can put whatever you want in there, and basically arrange it, like you do in your DAW, and for and the Electron sequencer, as you probably found out. I assume it's because I've never used these. The cycles.
It's the same sequence, exactly the same.
Oh, it's exactly the same as
I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's anything it doesn't have.
Oh, really?
Maybe
that's really good.
Maybe the some of the conditional trigs, but it has it does have the chance. It has fill. It might not have like the 1 and 2 and the one, that kind of stuff, but it has. I think it's like 99% the same sequence.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Which
was good also when I got the Digitact. I was like, oh.
You knew the sequencer already.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of what the Electrons, people who get into them, that's why they use them, is the sequencer more than anything else.
Yes. Yeah.
Not only the sound, obviously they sound good and quite versatile, but the sequencer is what gives variation.
Yeah.
And so forth, which is not available in the early Electron boxes like
that's right.
Machine Drum.
I've never used any of the.
I'm telling you.
Well,
it's not in there. There is someone did create a box though, so you could do that.
Oh,
the same sequencing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I bought one and I haven't used it.
More stuff to set up.
It's just more stuff to learn. Basically, I have to learn another little box, so I haven't gone down that way. Yeah, and I see you set up at the moment, and you just recently acquired another Electron box.
Yes, the Analog 4.
How long you had that for? Not too long.
Not super long, maybe since like February. Yeah, so what's that? Like 5 months or something?
Yeah.
4 months?
Yeah. Well, you just played a little bit You're doing well with it in that short span of
Yeah,
time.
well, when I got it, I kind of just put everything else to the side and just used it for a while. I'm definitely not a having master, not even close to mastering it. There's a lot to it, but yeah.
Are you a read the manual guy?
Yes, I definitely do. I actually printed the manual and got it bound. I can't read it on the computer. I find it really hard to read on the computer.
Yeah.
Like trying to flick between sections. So I have a printed version that I've read through. But
you've read cover to cover.
Yeah, but I always, like I have, but also, like when I got it, you don't really absorb that much when you just pick it up for the first time and read it cover to cover, always.
Yeah, I
go back to it sometimes.
Yeah, you'll always go back to the manual, definitely. Yeah, cover to cover. I you sit on a train then, and like for example,
I just had it at home and just read it. But yeah, I actually didn't. I think with the Analog 4, I felt like I had to because there's not that many videos. Because I guess it's like pre-synth YouTuber when it came out the first time. Not that there's no videos. There are like videos of it, but compared to the Digitact, I don't think I read the Digitact cover manual to manual.
Yeah, right.
The Digitact manual cover to cover. Yeah. Because there were so many videos. I just probably watched videos, I think. But yeah, Analog 4, I kind of felt like I had to read the manual because there are videos that do like short, make this sound on the Analog 4.
There's not someone that's anyone sat down and said, this is a tutorial of the A4.
Well, maybe I think there are maybe ones you can pay for, but.
All right. Who's paying for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it yourself.
Yes. So yeah, Analog 4 has been very good. It helps. I kind of realized looking at it today, I only bought Electron things pretty much.
Yeah. You did. Yeah.
But I think it does help when like you're learning something new and you already know.
Yeah, you knew the sequencer and you knew the quirks of the Electron system.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think of myself as like an Electron I like Electron, but I realize I pretty much only have Electron. But
you're preaching to the converted.
Yeah. I think it's because I don't have heaps of gear, and I feel like once you get to a certain point of, I can start branching out into things that are a bit more do specific things. But when you don't have a lot, it's good to have things that are versatile.
Yeah,
which the Electron is. Whereas like there are, if I was to get a DFAM or something, it does one thing really well, but it's not versatile, and I wanted to get the versatile stuff first.
Yeah. You got 4 synths in a box basically.
Yeah.
Thus the Analog 4.
Yes.
So you can have a lot of variation just on the one pattern. And you were saying earlier though, you don't think it's the type of synth that you can just get a sound out of immediately, and it takes a little bit of work.
Well, for me at least, I'm sure maybe some people have mastered it, but sometimes it takes me a while to get a sound that sounds good out of it. Like it doesn't always sound great straight away, or it takes a while till you find the sweet spots.
It's sort of like modular synthesis.
Yeah,
sometimes you've got to patch it up, and it's going to sound like terrible for a little bit until you refine it.
Yes, I haven't got into modular yet. But I'm sure it's somewhere. Yeah, somewhere down the road it will happen.
Do you know some artists that use it, or have you played with any artists?
Yeah, I haven't really a tiny bit, but not heaps. The main thing that it's just I feel like the kind of what I said before, like it's not super versatile to start with necessarily, or maybe that's not the right way to say it, but there are other things I could get first that would fill more of a use for the cost. Yeah,
it's the money, right? Yeah. Like although David said, I know. It is a barrier.
Yes.
You can buy Behringer modules, if you wanted to make it cheap, but you still have to buy all the parts of a synthesizer and put it together and put it in a case, and it still costs. Costs money.
It does.
For example, you bought the second-hand A4 for $800.
Yeah,
you said
you couldn't really do much.
$800, you wouldn't get a lot of. Yeah. You wouldn't get 4 synthesizers in. No. So, totally understandable. Yeah. But yeah, I brought mine, so I'll put some modular into the jam that we have shortly. Yes, next question. So, do you approach like your performance the same as you do when you're producing a track?
Not really. I actually have stopped producing. I don't produce tracks.
No, that's like the window.
Yeah, and ever since I stopped using. I mean, I use it sometimes, but I haven't really sat down and like put a track in a timeline for a while. So I guess no, I just don't really enjoy it that much.
So how would you approach how did you approach making a track before? I mean, you're making a DAW, you assemble it, don't you? And then, it runs down the time and you put the break in here and you put this in there and there's so many bars here and blah, 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 right? Have you moved away from that because you're thinking of live performance more?
Yeah, at the moment, my priority is like live performance. That's the main thing. I think when I do want to record a track, I'm just recording it live. And then like that other good thing about, not to keep going on about how good Electron is, but being able to multi-track, like split it all up with overbridge. So if there's anything you want to just clean up or anything, that is nice.
Yeah. So you do that. You use overbridge, you split the tracks up and record it that way. And then, as you said, like if anything's not perfect, you can do a quick edit afterwards. Yeah. So you're jamming out like if you go make a track now, would that be your approach now? Would you be jamming and then you go, okay, that was a track that sounded good?
I don't often multi-track like a long jam. Like I'll normally just do the stereo out for that. But if I'm wanting to make a track that's like 6 minutes, I'll multi-track and I'll jam for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes and I might do it a few times.
Have you ever released a stereo track? Have you recorded something and you went, oh, that's perfect? I'm just going to say that.
No, I have not. No.
No, not yet?
No. No.
Okay. Is that because you're very fussy and you like hear one thing and you're like, oh, the hats are just a little bit too high?
Yeah, it is mostly stuff like that around the balance of things because, when I'm doing it at home and like, it sounds good. And then I want to listen to it lots of different places. And then as soon as you do that, it's, I wish I could turn the hats down a tiny bit or turn them up a tiny bit or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good attitude to have. But but listening to it on different devices, you'll always get a different sound.
Yeah.
Though, so
of course,
it's never going to be perfect on everything.
No.
And especially I think because of the nature of what we do, it's sort of like a flaw that you either need to accept or you just as you said, like just okay, I'm going to have to multi-track everything every time I do this, and I'm going to have to sit at the computer and I'm going to have to mix it down as I would a normal DAW track. It just happens to be that I jammed it live. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think for longer recordings, it doesn't bother me. But if it's supposed to be something that's like 6 minutes,
so you wouldn't mind putting stuff out. Have you put stuff out of whole recordings of jams and?
Yeah.
Not
heaps, but I have, and that was just the stereo one. But I don't know. It's interesting, especially with electronic music. Like you can release a lot of music, a lot of stuff really quickly, quite like compared to what it was like before. What it is.
When you needed labels and you needed to be signed, we can do it all ourselves.
Which is great. It's good, obviously a good thing. But also at the same time, you have a lot of stuff that people release that isn't very... There's a lot of like not very high quality music also being released. Not to say that, people shouldn't release what they want to, but it just does, for me personally, I don't want to just release something that sounds like it's average or just sounds like what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, okay.
It's like not contributing to the sound. To
the evolution of techno?
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way.
Put it like that? Yeah. But you want to create your own sound as well, right? Is that where you're working towards, or? Yeah,
I feel like with making music, it's like not that hard to, well, I mean, it takes time, obviously, but it's not too hard to make something sound really good. To make something that sounds like something else that sounds really good.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier. Sick, 99 hat. techno.
Yeah.
Boom.
Exactly.
But it's what you do after that, right? Like it's the perfect start, but it's where you move into synthesis that maybe, in my opinion anyway, where you find your own sound and how you mix those synthesized sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the challenge, is like making something that sounds new, but also sounds really good. Like you can make something that sounds not that, like, that sounds like other people's music that sounds really good. You can make something new that sounds not that good, but to make something that's like, you know, new and sounds really incredible, that's the challenge, I think.
Yes. So the challenge for you is to hook in the listeners that want to hear something familiar, but have a point of difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is difficult to do.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. It's how do you, because, I was talking or listening to a show recently. They were talking to a psychologist. And, familiar, it's why pop music is so popular. It's called pop. Like it's everybody knows it. Everybody is familiar with it. It's catchy, and people don't have to think about it, right? And that's sort of what people want in music. They want a comfort as well. So it's that familiarity that gives them comfort.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, is what I got out of that conversation, the radio show that I was listening to, which is really interesting, and it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what you want to do is grab that comfort zone and then maybe take them out of there a little bit into recognizing, like, oh, that's an Asinine track. I know. Yeah. That's his sort of thing.
Well, yeah,
that's that. Like,
that's the impressive thing when you're listening to someone and you don't even know the song, and you're like, oh, and I think I'm 99% sure who this song's by, just because of how the song sounds.
Yeah.
That's always impressive. And I think, the idea of, I guess, I don't know, personally I find, something that's familiar is always good, but that's why I like electronic music, and that's why I've shifted towards electronic music instead of what I was doing before, is that you can have I love hearing something I've never heard before, like a sound that, oh wow, I've never heard anything like that. How do they do that?
Yes.
For me at least, that's the exciting.
Yeah, and finding new sounds yourself and getting there and going, oh wow, how did I make that sound? This is what's great about modular, by the way. You're like, how the hell did I even get it? And you listen back to things that you made before, and I'm sure it happens for you as well. And sometimes you think back and you're like, what was that? Was it the cycles? Was it the A4? Like, what was I using? Because they're all, but you could, cycles is FM, but you end up going so far into synthesis that you get into a place where, okay, everything can be made with that. I could have made it with this. I could have made it with that. Like there's a bunch of items I could have made that with. And just going back to familiarity. Now in your live set, you've added something that's familiar to the crowd. It's going to be familiar to the crowd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to give that away now?
Yes. Yeah.
You go and play.
Yeah.
We're recording. This is a pre-recording, by the way, and we are going to play together, on the same stage at 150% live in a couple of weeks. And you've got something special for the crowd that's going to be familiar to them.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've got a cover recreation of a Jeff Mills, The Bells, which is obviously a great original track. And
very familiar to a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's I guess it is nice. Yeah, when you're listening to a day of like all live raw techno, it can be nice to have something to latch onto as an audience, I guess, to be like, oh yeah, I know that. That's something I like. And also it just is a great, when I was trying to recreate it, it was like, it's so simple in a way, but it's so good.
Yeah. So do you want to give anything away? What's the bells sound?
Well, what do you mean?
How did it just? Is it just a what?
Like how
what VCOs?
Oh yeah, I've just used analog 4.
Yeah.
I did it a while ago. I couldn't even. I could have a look and explain what's happening, but I've
some ring modulation.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even think I'd. Yeah, to be honest, the bell line, like the lead, was not the hard part to make. It was the I don't know what to call it, but it's like these funky kind of chords.
Oh, right.
Dun, 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 that part.
Yeah, so the bass
the
line.
bouncy. It's kind of well, it's kind of the bass line. They're chords. They're kind of chords. They're kind of like low chords, I think. That was the harder part to make because the rhythm's all weird and like the notes are all changing and
all right.
That took me a while. But yeah, the bells, just like a bell sound.
Yeah. Well, sometimes a bell sound can't be it's not the easiest sound to make.
Yeah.
You got to bounce a couple of VCOs off each other. So they ring mod.
The Analog 4 has good, it's got, a whole lot of good ways of getting, even it's not FM, but FM kind of,
ish.
FM sounds.
Yeah. Well, if you're frequency modulating one,
yes, I guess.
VCO off the other one, FM, isn't it? It's funny because we get FM synthesis, which is a beast of its own, but technically, if you're frequency modulating anyway, I'm getting technical now. You're probably getting bored, listeners. Let's stop talking technical stuff. But yeah, we're looking forward. I'm looking forward to hearing that on the 16th. Sorry you missed the gig. Well, I hope you didn't miss the gig. I hope you went and saw it. Okay, let's So I want to ask you as well, because you're pretty new to the scene, but you're obviously playing out quite a bit, and you have been. So when did you first play out in Melbourne?
I guess I would have started playing at just friends' parties, I guess, a while. I mean, maybe a year and a half or something, or 2 years ago, maybe a bit less than that. And then towards the second half of last year, I started playing at actual venues. I played Hardware Theory in January, which was really awesome and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Those events are great as well for live.
Yeah, I mean, Hardware Theory, they've been doing it before anyone, I think. So it's pretty much Hardware Theory, Hidden Sequence, all live shows at the moment, and now 150% live doing the same thing. It's not even a couple of years then. So you started playing out at friends' parties.
Parties maybe parties maybe a year and a half, and then it wouldn't even be a full year since playing at venues.
So in your opinion, because I'm a bit old school, not partying as much as I used to.
Yeah.
What's the feeling about live performance in the scene at the moment, in your opinion?
I think it's funny, being very close to it now, it feels like it's kind of growing and people are getting more into it, and I think it's definitely true to a degree, but at the same time I think the biggest barrier to live acts becoming more popular is people just have no idea, audience members just don't know what's going on. They have no idea what's going on. People who go to techno events semi-regularly, who enjoy techno events, don't know the difference between a DJ and a live. They actually have no idea. Yeah,
so when they're on the dance floor, it doesn't matter what they're hearing, right? They're just partying and having fun anyway, right? So they don't care what's happening behind the decks. They just assume it's a DJ, even though it's not.
Yeah. So there's still I think there's still a lot of that. I have friends who, most of my friends, they ask, how's your DJing going? I'm like, it's not DJing. What do you mean? I've seen your videos. It's DJing. No, it's not DJing.
Yeah. Okay. So there's still a lot of. So you would say the gen pop. Still,
a lot of
don't really know the difference.
A lot of people don't know the difference. Yeah. I'd say a large proportion of people going to big events don't know the difference.
Yeah.
Which I think is, that's always going to be, that'll be the barrier, because why would you...
What's the challenge then? What's the challenge for us, and especially yourself as a young artist, because I assume you'll be doing this for a long time to come. How do you think we can break through, or you can break through to let people know that, I mean, you take videos and people see what you're doing, but you were saying that they even then they don't understand. So
I think that people, I mean, social media is great in some ways, in terms of making the difference a bit more obvious to people and kind of showing people what's going on. I think that, I think that is the barrier in terms of having people understand the difference. Because if you're booking acts, if you're, you're booking a night of artists or something, you're not going to, it's a lot more effort to book a live act.
It is a lot more effort.
If you don't think your audience is going to pay, you're going to sell more tickets by booking a live act, then why would you book a live act? So I think people knowing about what it is the barrier. And I think, stuff like making it more visible as much as you can. Like what David does, like what Honey Smack does is great. He plays on the dance floor.
That's right.
And it's very it's a show.
Yes.
And even if you don't know, even if you have no idea the difference between DJ and live, if you go to a club and he's playing, it's something different's happening because he's not up there, he's on the dance
there's
floor.
also you look up and you're like, where's the DJ? The music's still playing, and then you're like, okay, what's going on? There's something going on down there, and then people make their way up and go, oh,
yeah. So I think stuff like that is will help a lot in terms of more artists doing it, because David's only one person, but more artists doing it and kind of promoting it. And I just explain it to everyone that I can. And sometimes I feel like I'm getting annoying. Like people, it's not DJing. I'm not DJing. What do you mean? And like, not DJing. Oh, okay.
Have you ever had anybody come up to you and go, can you play this track?
I haven't personally, but I've seen it happen. I was at my first Hardware Theory. I was at, some guy, gets his phone and goes, play this. And the artist was just like, what are you talking about? I think he was probably, the guy was probably, having a bit too much, like he was having a very good time. So he was partying, but
a lot of people don't understand. That's the thing. So
and this was at Hardware Theory. This is an event that's, in the middle of the dance floor.
Yeah, I've had it happen to me. I mean, I've had it happen to me really early on when I played back in early 2000s, and probably my third show, and I was just right there. The audience is right there, and girl comes up, starts in my ear like, play this. Can you play this track? I'm like, I'm not DJing.
Yeah.
Can you play this track? I'm like, I'm not DJing.
Yeah.
Obviously drunk or intoxicated in some way, just wouldn't listen. My sister had to come up, drag her away, and explain to her, he's not DJ.
Yeah.
He cannot play any tracks.
No.
You could request all the tracks in the world. Yeah, so it does happen still. So yeah, we know the Gen Pop. It's a good question. I think Hardware Theory doing a good job because, as you said, everyone's in the middle, so you're not directed up towards a DJ booth or anything. So if you wander in there and you're just hearing the music, you see somebody playing like on the dance floor. So, and as David, aka Honey Smack, does a very similar thing, maybe we'll try to work towards doing something like that, 150 live. But I've also thought about getting cameras, and so you could actually see. You would actually see what they're doing up on the screen,
anything to make it
or something like that.
Anything to make it more of a show, like you're watching a performer.
Yeah, you're seeing them doing something besides just
because that is kind of the value in live, right? I guess if you're as an audience member.
Do you think it has a different sound?
Oh, it definitely has a different sound.
Yeah.
Not always for the better necessarily. Not always for the better, but it definitely has a different sound. Like that's another hard part. Is like if you're competing with like perfectly mastered tracks, if you're playing around like in between DJs. So yeah, it definitely has a different sound. I think, that's one thing. The all live events are great because not everyone, but a lot of people there know what's going on and they understand that it's live. I think that I personally try to like strike a balance between, the whole raw improvised thing and making it polished. If I'm playing, if I'm trying to, I guess I don't want to say compete like it's a competition, but if I'm playing before and after DJs, because a lot of people aren't going to know what you're doing, and they'll just know it doesn't it's very repetitive,
different,
it's very repetitive, and also it's not going to be perfect. It's a bit more raw and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're not having build-ups and breakdowns and so forth at every when they're expecting it almost, right? So it's something a little bit different. Yeah.
So I think it is good to strike a balance. Like I think that will help. That would help the like live artists, I guess, become more popular is, you know, I don't want to say you have to like sell out and play, like use song mode and have it all pre-planned 100%. But I think,
some people do get very fussy about that though. They will have that, all set out and they know exactly what they're doing. But you like you like the fact that you have some improvisation. Yeah. And
I think a balance, I guess what I'm trying to say though is a balance is good if you're trying to keep an audience interested. An audience that's not there to see live hardware. If it's an audience that's there to see live hardware, then they're going to still appreciate.
They're going to expect. Yeah. I always think that it sounds a bit different. Let's move into. It's been a good chat. We've talked longer than I thought we would. So we're getting on time. Yeah. So I want to ask you, and as I ask every person, the two people I've had, you're the third. So if there was one piece of advice you would give to someone who wanted to get into live hardware, electronic performance and production, what would be the one piece of advice you would give them?
I will first, I know that David said this a lot. I'm not an expert. He says it and he kind of, who's more of an expert in live techno than he is, but I'm definitely not an expert, but
that's all right. From your opinion,
from my opinion and from like what I've learned, I'd say if I had to give one piece of advice, it would probably be to keep going if it's something you like doing. Like, don't be discouraged if it doesn't sound good. Like, if you don't like what you're doing at the start, it takes it's not something that will just sound good straight away, or something that will be easy straight away. Yes, I think if it's something you want to do, don't be discouraged is I guess what I would say.
It's a path of patience.
Yeah.
All right. That's sort of what I say at the beginning of the show. This is a path that you need patience.
Yeah.
And you need persistence.
Yes.
Yes. So that would be
to at least get to a point where you're
happy.
Yeah. Well, you're making music and you're listening to it and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like, because I felt quite, for a while I felt quite discouraged. Like, this doesn't sound like I didn't enjoy it. Yeah. And not to say that now my music's incredible or anything, but I'm at a point now where I enjoy listening to what I make. I think, don't be discouraged, and you have to I guess you have to be willing to spend time on it. But
yeah. So that's the
trust the process, I guess.
Yeah, yes. And that's the ultimate goal, is to make music that you enjoy, right?
Yeah. Yes, of course. Yeah. Otherwise, why won't? Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. It's great to meet you. I look forward to playing in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a really good gig, I think. So speaking of gigs, as I said, we're pre-recording this, so we're going to you're going to miss the shows because this. But you've just missed out on 100%, 150% live, and you've missed out on the hardware theory, unless you went to those gigs and you're listening to it now and you're thinking, I had a great time at them. But if you didn't go, I advise you to go and look up 150% live and hardware theory. They're both on Instagram. You can follow 150bpm.events to look out for the 150% live events that are coming up. And hardware theory, just go and type in hardware theory into Instagram, and you'll find that there. Now, I heard you chatting to Marcus earlier. Did you have a gig coming up, or is that?
Yeah, I do have. Well, I don't know when. On the 29th of June, I think is a Saturday night.
Yeah, so you'll just miss out on that too.
But that's with that's with Club River, and they they'll be doing it's not all live hardware, but it's good to have promoters that are willing to book live acts, and hopefully they'll book more. Yeah, and have more nights with DJs and live acts combined together.
Hopefully, I've had a few people that are interested as well. We've had the MTC, Melbourne Techno Collective, also reach out to us and say that they want to put on more live acts, which is a really great news. Thanks, Matt, for that. As usual, big thanks to my producer, Marcus Newman. Thank you for all your work. And let's move into some live electronic music, shall we?
Awesome.
All right. Cheers, everyone.